Hey guys, it's me again, Britta, and welcome to my channel. If you haven't subscribed, please do subscribe and support me in my channel. So today we'll be going through the requirements that I did for the skills assessment, which is ACS. So skills assessment is one of the requirements for getting a permanent residency in Australia. If you are keen to know on the details how I got my permanent residency with Australia, I'll share the link below as well, so do check out. So a quick background about myself. I am working in the IT industry for more than 10 years as a developer. So my assessing body is ACS, which is Australian Computer Society, and my ANZSCO code is 261312. So there's actually a lot of ANZSCO code and the assessing body for other professions as well. I'm going to share that link below on where you can find your assessing body that corresponds to your profession. Okay, so we're going to go through the different requirements for the skills assessment with ACS. I've actually pulled the latest checklist that they have. I've done my ACS for quite a while, so I just wanted to check whether they have new updates or requirements. So I'll let you know which ones I submitted and which ones they actually added just recently. So the first one is proof of identity documents. So they've identified passport, one additional government issued identity document, evidence of change of name, if applicable only, and resume or your CV. So for my case, I submitted my passport and my updated resume or my CV. They recently added this one additional government issued identity document, but this is likely just IDs like driver's license or our SSS or any other government issued IDs. So yeah, that's for the proof of ID identification. Next one is qualifications evidence. So they're requiring degree or award certificates and degree or awards of transcripts or academic transcripts. So what I submitted for this is I've given my diploma and my transcript of record. It is optional, but I've actually included certificate of residency as well. So I've actually have 3 documents as proof of my qualifications evidence. The certificate of residency is something that you would ask from your university. So it's more of like a written, it looks like a letter. I can show you a sample of how I got mine. So for the next one, we have experience evidence. So this is actually where the heavy lifting, a lot of work done for my case, because I actually have 5 employers. So out of my 5 employers, 4 of them are actually from the Philippines, and my 5th employer is in Singapore. So there's a lot of back and forth of the documents. Now, for employment reference, for the experience evidence, they require 2 types of requirements, which is employment references and payment evidence. We'll go through each of these and like what I've actually submitted. So for employment references, if you cannot provide an employment references, you can use a statutory declaration plus your certificate of employment for that company, plus the certificate of employment of the person that's going to be the witness in your statutory declaration. Okay, so out of my 5 companies, I was only able to secure an employment reference on only 1. So all the rest, that's 4 statutory declarations for me. So what's the difference for employment reference versus a normal certificate of employment? The employment reference is very, very similar as a certificate of employment, except that it has all the details of your job responsibility. So basically, this is the way for ACS to know like what were your responsibilities, if whether this role coincides with the skill that you're trying to be assessed with. Okay, so for my case, developer, programmer, I've actually tried to coincide all the job descriptions on that employment reference to match with the skills that I'm trying to be assessed with. Okay, so that's the employment reference. So yeah, that's the difference. So for employment reference, just to be very clear on this one, employment references is like a COE with all your job descriptions, okay, or your statutory declaration with a colleague that you work with, and then include maybe a generic certificate of employment of yourself on that company with your period of employment, your title. It's very, very important. And plus the certificate of employment of the person that you're actually having the statutory declaration written with. Okay, so this is more of like proof that the person that you're also choosing to do your statutory declaration is also connected to the company, like you both really work together. So this is more of like proof. Okay, so that's for the employment references. Now, for the payment evidence, they are requiring at least 2 forms of payment evidence. Okay, so they're a little, in my time, it was a little complicated because of what they were asking in my time was they require a start and an end of every year that I was employed on that employer. So basically, if I've got 4 years in that employer, I need to provide evidence for each of the year, start and end of the year. So that's quite complicated. There's just a lot of paperwork in that one. That's why it took a lot for me. And I have to do that for 5 employers. In this case, payment evidence only requires if you have worked for an employer from the start till the end of your employment. So I think that's quite simpler now. And I think this is already like not as chaotic as my time. Okay, so I'm going to show a table that I was using. So I'm actually flashing the types of payment evidence that I use to prove my to support my claims for a specific company. So as mentioned earlier, I am employed with 5 companies, 4 of which are from the Philippines and 1 is from Singapore. So if you check my table, just disregard this evidence year, because around my time, the way they require pay evidence was I need to have proof for every year that I am employed in that company. But based on the new checklist, they only require you to have the start and end of your employment. So as you can see, if you are not a Filipino viewer, or you don't have any you're not really from Philippines, some of these requirements may not be applicable to you. But for Filipinos, the requirements that I've used, as you can see in the table, I've used SSS, my PhilHealth MDRs, I've used my Pag-ibig, these, by the way, these are screenshots. My SSS is a screenshot. My pag-ibig is also a screenshot only. And my ITR and MDR are actually scanned copies. So you'll know like what are other options available for you to prove your claims on a company. So I'm quite lucky. I've actually kept my payslip for such a long time. Like they're fossils already. So yeah, bank statement. Yeah, I think the very common pay evidence is bank statement, payslip. But for my case, I couldn't get a bank statement from my previous employers in Philippines because we have different ATM in some of my companies. It's like different ATM for every company that I jump to. So that's really hard because I've already closed those accounts. So it's kind of hard for me to pull records. So the only way for me to get pay evidence is through government documents. So again, for Filipinos, you can use SSS screenshot. You can use a screenshot of your pag-ibig as well. And I've used ITR and MDR as supporting documents, so they accept that. Just remember that the very thing that they look for in these documents are just your name, your and your company name. So yeah, that's for the pay evidence. So if you have any more questions, do let me know in the comments below. I'm going to try to give you as much answer as I can. And by the way, all these information I'm sharing are only based on my experience. So your circumstance, your documentation might be a little different, especially if you're coming from a different country as well. It might be different for you. So please do your own research on this one. Okay, I think that's about it. If you like my video, if you find my video helpful, please do like and share and subscribe. I'd really appreciate if you can support me in my channel. And thank you for watching. Bye bye.